I wanted to create this video to show you how to hook loads in the Huey. I had a lot of problems with this. It was very frustrating, and just recently found a few little tricks that made this way easier than it was prior. And that opens up a lot of options in the game. So what I'll do is, I'll assume that you know how to, like you've read up on how to hook loads and you're familiar with the concept. And really this will just be the tips and tricks on how to do it, yeah, just the way that I found it. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that your radar altimeter is on. So just make sure this is set up to radar. And you'll see this number right here. This will be helpful for when you want to get actually over the cargo load. Heads up, the cargo line is about 30 feet long. I find that if you're about 20-25 feet over the cargo load, that's pretty good for hooking it. Okay, so to find your cargo load, you just go to the radio options and you'll get all cargoes, and then you can choose your cargo. This is very important. If you do not identify the specific piece of cargo that you're going for, no matter what, even if you're hovering over it perfectly, you will not be able to hook it. So not only do you have to identify your cargo through the radio menu to allow it to be hooked, but you also have to hook the proper one. It will create some red smoke for you to guide you to your specific cargo, but the smoke will disappear when you get close. So you need to do that. So I'm just going to grab this piece of cargo, and you can see over on the right the cargo is smoked up. Okay, so now what I want to do is just to show you my tricks. I'm just going to hit Control and Enter so that I can get the controls displayed on the top left, because there's a few subtle tricks that I use. So the first thing I do is I just kind of bring my my stick down to the left, put some left rudder, and increase my collective. This is just so I can get airborne with and get some slight forward motion without spinning too much. Okay, so I'm looking at my altimeter, and I'm at 1 foot, and I'm still in ground effect, so I just gave it a little more collective to start getting some altitude. And you don't want to be going too fast, so just kind of keep it nice and easy. I would say like a walking pace is probably the best way to do it. Now 2 feet is too low, so I gave it some more collective, goosing it up a little bit, and you can see that it was kind of starting to tilt backwards. Okay, so tip number 1. What you want to do is you want to just try and stabilize in a hover at around 23, 24, 25, whatever. Just kind of high, but not too high where you're actually longer than the cable. And you want to trim. Now this is the second trick. The trim is kind of like differential, so if you trim where your stick is at that point, it's almost like it has double the effect. So I kind of half it. So I just trimmed right there, and what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get it to a decent hover before I actually get over it. So right now I can tell that my trim is a little far to the back, like I'm drifting back. So I'm just pushing forward just slightly, and I'm trimming again. So now I've got it in a fairly decent trim. So at this point, what I can do is I can start getting close to the cargo. But before we do that, we'll give this a quick pause. Before I do that, you want to make sure that you have a couple keys bound to the stick. One is mandatory, it's the hook, but the other is optional, and that's the camera. So just to show you what I'm talking about, the hook, the camera is left control, left shift C, but I have it bound to my air brakes button forward on my Warthog, and then the actual hook is right control, right shift L, and I have it on the back button on my HOTAS on the air brakes. I also have a shift modifier on my stick, and when I hold the shift modifier and do back, I do the auto unhook, which is right control, right shift K. So you're going to want to have those bound. So, whoops. So lots of rudder here, and really you're just trying to just really get some practice just hovering kind of at altitude. Now I look at my radar altimeter and I see that I'm 70 feet in the air, so that's too high. So I want to bring it down to about 25, 30 feet. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now what I'm doing now, just want to control my sync rate, is I try and center the cargo. Whoops. I'm trying to center the cargo over my attitude, my ADI, my attitude direction indicator. That's this big gauge right in the middle with your degrees of pitch, and that's essentially center for me. So what I do when I want to get close to the cargo is I just look at what I'm doing with the stick. I'm pushing it up just a few times. When I want to slow down, I pull back, and I'm actually just tapping it backwards. So this is like kind of the killer trick here. Now, what I just did right now is I looked at the ADI to see whether or not I was on the horizon, and I could probably trim this thing a little forward. I'm not going to right now. So I'm going to turn on my camera just to make things easier. And I'm actually not really looking at the camera. I'm looking at the cargo in front of me and looking at how fast I'm going. And all I'm doing is I'm just doing, like, look at the top left. You can see I'm constantly pushing, like I'm tapping the stick, and it springs back to the middle. And I kind of I'm just tapping it forward and backwards. So like forwards and backwards. So I'm tapping it forwards a little bit, and then backwards a little bit. And now I hook my cargo, and I'm watching through my peripheral vision. So I just overshot it, so that's fine. So I'm just going to tap it back a bit. We'll just sink back, and now I'm tapping it forward to slow down. And I'm holding my hook. And there we go. So that's how you hook it, and then you can just get rid of the camera. And the proper way to lift the cargo is to stay hovering over it and then just kind of ascend. And we'll wait till we get to about 50 feet, 60 feet. And at this point, you'll see that I have the cargo hooked and I'm flying around. So now you can go about landing somewhere with the cargo. So, to recap, what you want to do is you want to do those little tiny taps. So look at the controls. Tap backwards or tap forwards. It's a lot easier if you're trimmed in a relative hover. You don't have to be perfect. I wasn't perfect, but the key is to do little tiny taps in opposite directions, and I found that the control is so much better. So I hope this helps you start hooking loads in the Huey in DCS. Alright, thanks for watching.